Let's see. We've got folks. Let's see. We got folks from San Diego, from Denver, Orange County, from all the way from Maine. Welcome from Maine, Palm Desert, California, Winchester, calling in from Utah, Canyon Lake, California, Denver, Utah again, San Diego, San Francisco, Orange County, Menifee. Welcome. Hey, it looks like Darren keeps popping in and out. What's up, buddy? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Cool. Yeah, we can hear you now. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
I don't know why, and I imagine there might be some other people like that. But
yeah, it looks like we're. Let's see. You guys can hear me, okay, right? Hit me a chat in the yes. I just got a text message that says you guys can't hear me. Okay, you guys can hear me. That'd be really awkward if I'm talking to myself the whole time. Okay, everybody. Well, welcome. We are excited to have you here with us this morning. Before we jump into some of the information about who we are, what we do, and why we're here this morning, then I want to show you guys the property. I want to give you a little quick sneak peek, have Darren come out on camera, show you the property, and then we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to the property in just a couple of minutes, and we're going to hit that up and show you what's going on. But Darren, I'm going to go ahead and give it over to you, man. Show me, what are we going to be looking at today? We're not going to give everything away, but I want you guys to see what we're looking at. This is a property out in San Jacinto, California, right? Let's see here. I can hear you. Okay, somebody says I can't hear you. There we go. They have to go turn the volume up on their end. Yeah, you know what, Darren? I'm going to have you continue to walk around, Darren, while I give a little Zoom tutorial. There will be a lot of folks. Maybe you're not too familiar with Zoom. Maybe you haven't used it a whole lot yet, but pretty much you can control everything on your end. You should be able to control the size of the image. You should be able to control, whether it's speaker view or gallery view, but go ahead and mess around with it. You can't break it. So go ahead. If you're not hearing us loud enough, turn up your volume. If you're not seeing what you want to see, go ahead and expand it to full screen, etc. So anyways, Darren's walking around the property. You guys are going to see a little bit of what we're looking at. And as we set the stage today, he's going to continue walking around the property. I just want to have a quick conversation and let you guys know why we're having this discussion today. Because let's talk about it. We're quarantined in our homes. We're trying to live as normal a life as possible. But here's the reality. Over 22 million people have filed for unemployment. There is going to be repercussions. I'm an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist. I don't come from a space of scarcity, but rather from abundance. We are going to pull through this, but there is definitely going to be some type of a disruption in the housing market. Whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road, there are going to be people that are losing their houses because of this disruption. Maybe the unemployment doesn't cover it. Maybe there's, whatever they receive from the stimulus package isn't enough to cut it. They don't have what it takes to weather the storm. And ladies and gentlemen, the picture that you're seeing right now is a house. This is it's very much an example of why we need to prepare now. What we do in the next 30 days to 3 months is going to prepare yourself for the storm that is coming. So I don't know why you're here. I assume it's because you want to make money in real estate. I'm assuming it's because you've been interested in investing for quite some time, but you don't know what you're looking at. We're going to show you this house. I think many of you have already received from the information to get here. You know that this house that Darren's walking around right now has got a $65,000 profit potential. Let me ask you, how many of you, and I want you to go over to the chat, would an extra $65,000, would that impact your world right now? Yes or no in the chat? I mean, it's a really rhetorical question. Now, just because we type yes in the chat, does that mean you are guaranteed any such result? Heck no, not even close. Not even close. You got to learn the system. You got to learn what it takes. And Darren is here today. He's going to show us what's going on in this house, because if that's the kind of income that you need, many of you are going to be needing to replace your income. Many of you are going to be needing to supplement your income. Now more than ever, while you've got the time, is time to take advantage and learn this system. So Darren, we're going to come back to this house in just a couple of minutes, but why don't you give us just a quick recap of what you've been looking at? You've been walking around the house. Tell us what you see there. I mean, this thing looked like a gem.
I brought my son with me today, and we're walking up to the front door. He's like, wow, this is like a haunted house. because it is so overgrown. It's been years of no maintenance, as you can see. Here, I'll
do me a favor,
put myself back on
Darren.
camera so I
zoom
can...
over to that tree. Zoom over to the palm tree that's currently to your left. Show them that palm tree that has literally had no trimming on the other side of the driveway. I don't think the palm tree on the other side of the driveway has ever been trimmed since that thing was planted. I mean, look at that, folks. When Darren's talking deferred maintenance, this is deferred maintenance at nth degree. So, anyway, Darren, tell us a little bit more about this house.
I talked with the landscaper. He's going to be able to get it all done, though, so I'm not too worried about all this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, you know what? I was going to do things a little bit different today, but I think we're just going to jump right into it. Darren, let's start talking about this house. You've been investing for how many years?
Well, just over 10 now.
Just over 10 years. Now, did you come from this background, or were you born into a family of real estate investors, or did you find yourself with a little bit of economic disruption that many people are experiencing now that caused you to look for this opportunity?
Well, if you think about 10 years ago, where were we? I mean, it was 2010, and in 2008, I was fired from my job. I was let go because the economy was pretty poor at that time. Very similar to the way it is now, except for it didn't happen, almost happened as fast. But no, I knew nothing of real estate except for what I read in books and listened to on tapes because I'm that old. And those things, they got me real excited about doing real estate, but they told me nothing about how to do it. And so when I felt like I was ready to go out and do real estate, I tried to, if you could say that, but it was way too scary because I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't know what I needed to do. And I decided that, you know what, this is for other people. I'm not brave enough. I'm going back to work. But in 2008, there was no work to be had. And luckily for me, I found a team of people who were doing it. And I went and joined up with them so that they could, kind of show me how, if you would. Because I knew that if I was just shown how, if someone could just show me how to do this, I could repeat the process.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Darren, I'm going to put my whiteboard up as you're talking here. Here's what I hear you saying. I mean, how many of you guys, I want you to type in the chat, what was the underlying tone that you guys heard in Darren's story there? What was the one thing holding him back from taking action? Let's see if you guys if you could hear the sound. Oh, there we go. First one right out of the gate. Brian Todd says fear, followed up by Danielle and Dwight and everybody. Everyone, Darren, they're all saying you're a pansy, man. Everyone's saying you were fearful to take action. But
I'm surprised no one has said "suck it up, princess."
Well, that's coming. Suck it up, princess. That's
coming.
My hashtag. We love it. But Darren's talking about, hey, one of the biggest things holding me back is fear. And that fear comes from what causes fear? It's a lack of knowledge. Okay? Fear comes from a lack of knowledge. Now, I got a question for everybody online. How often, as you take your knowledge base, as your knowledge base goes up, what happens to fear? 10 out of 10 times, what happens? Fear goes down. Fear goes down. And that's what Darren did 10 years ago. He said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. He had some displacement in his career. And he says, I've got to do something different. I've got to make a change. So he came out and he said he found a community of investors. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why we are here today. Today is our introduction. We are introducing you to our community of investors because there have I've talked to tens of thousands of people over my career, and I've asked them what holds them back from investing. And you guys already hit on some of them. You said, look, it's lack of knowledge, it's lack of time, it's lack of money and credit. But the biggest one typically is always fear. Well, Darren said he joined a community. He got educated. So first he's overcoming his lack of knowledge through education, and then he's joining a community. Well, today we are introducing you virtually to some of the members of our community, to people who are flat killing it in real estate. And we want to show you this property. We want to show you this house. We want to talk about 4 things. How did we find the house? How did we fund it? What are we going to do to fix it up? And then what are we going to do to flip it? Because if we could introduce you to the same system, right? The same system that Darren followed, the same system that I followed, the same system that thousands of students have followed, I literally have 2 questions for you guys, and I want you to hit me up in the chat. Number one, the first question that you need to answer, number one, is can I do it? I call that CD. Can I do it? Number 2, is it worth it? So today we're going to talk about CD iwi. Can I do it? Is it worth it? Over in the chat, how many of you believe you can do it? Give me a yes or no. Can you do it? Yes or no? Emphatically yes, all the way down. Okay, how many of you believe it's worth it? Or rather, let me rephrase that question. Let me rephrase the question and ask you, in the example of a fix and flip, I already told you this property is going to make $65,000, and we're going to come right back to that in just a moment. But how much would you need to make? I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. How much would you need to make in order for this business to be worth it? I want you to type it down in the chat. On a fix and flip, on a transactional business, how much would you need to make in order for it to be worth it? I'm seeing 50 grand, 30 grand, 45, 35. Keep going. There's way more of you online that haven't participated. 30, 50, 44,000, 10,000, 40, 60. So we're seeing anywhere from 10,000, 20,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40, all the way up to $60,000. Can you do it? Is it worth it? Well, right now, chances are you're like, well, that's why I'm here. That's what I want to figure out. Today, we're going to talk about those 4 things that I mentioned. We're going to talk about, okay, not only CD iwi, can I do it? Is it worth it? But we're going to talk about how to find, fund, fix, and flip. Okay? When we're talking about those 4 components of real estate investing, we're really talking about building relationships, leveraging relationship capital. Because as we talk about, is it worth it? You got to look at, is there going to be a disruption in your economy? If so, pay attention. Pay attention, because whether it's in your economy or other people's economy, there will be a disruption. And somebody's going to receive payment for solving a problem. My question, is that just going to be us? Is it going to be Darren and I? Or is it going to be you as well? Can you do it? Is it worth it? So let's go back to Darren. Let's talk about this deal. Darren, how was this deal found? Oh, looks like you're on mute, bud. I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. And it was awesome. I had an extreme close-up of your ear for a second. That was weird.
No one's ever done that before.
Hey, guys, by the way, if you see me looking over here, my camera is here, but I'm looking at, Darren's not there. Darren's over here. So forgive me as I look this way. But Darren, how was this deal found?
So it was actually found by relationships built with probate attorneys' offices. And so Joanna, who we are partnered with on this deal, and who is right here, look at that. There's Joanna. Joanna.
Well, you know what? Forget it, Darren. Hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say, Darren, I don't want to hear you. I want to hear Joanna. Joanna, how are you finding this deal?
Hello, everyone. Yes, can't hear you very well over here, but yeah, we've been following the systems that we've been learning, and writing letters and getting connected with people, and that's how we came to this property.
So this wasn't, and I apologize, guys. You see them coming in real close. They can't hear real well on their end. I'm not sure why. So we're going to get a close-up of Darren's ear all day. But this house was found through relationships. Was it on
through relationships?
Or did this deal come to you prior to being on market?
Did this come to you prior to being on market?
It has been already on the market, but it was taken down because it wasn't selling, because of the condition that it's in. So that's why the agent remembered that we've talked, and she called me and said, "Are you still interested in probate properties?" I'm like, "Yes." And so she said, "Well, I have this property. Are you interested in having a look?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And so yes, actually it was $250 that they were asking.
Oh, excuse me, $250. I apologize.
then they lowered it to, I think it was 2010. But when the person came in they had it in escrow, but the person came in, she freaked out and she got out of the escrow. She couldn't handle the situation.
She was so scared.
She was so scared.
She was so scared that she left behind her $20,000 deposit.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, this is huge. This is huge, guys. We're going to talk about this. Let's listen. I'm going to interrupt for a second. So the asking price was $250.
Yep.
Another investor came in and put it under contract at $210 and put down $20,000 in earnest money deposit.
Right.
Put down $20,000 deposit and walked away from $20,000 because of why?
Because the fear. Because they didn't know what to do, who to turn to handle this, and they don't have the experience. I'm assuming, because I've never met that person, but when we saw it, we like, yes, this is so exciting.
Okay, now I want you to do me a favor. Let's go, before we continue this conversation. We're going to continue the conversation in different parts of the house today, but let's go walk through the house and let's see, why would an investor?
Okay, we gotta put these on.
Yes,
now.
You do need masks. I will put mine on inside the office as well. I'll make sure I'm covered. Right? But as you go through that house,
Kendall,
as they go through, let's think about this. Somebody walked away from $20,000 because they were afraid of what they saw. Darren, walk us through the house and let's talk about this. Is this anything we need to be afraid of?
One second. Let me put this on my my selfie stick and see if that'll work. All right. I hate calling it a selfie stick. That just sounds kind of fun.
That sounds so like 2015.
All right. Welcome to the scary house. And Kendall, just wave at Denim when you want to ask something, because my speaker is not speaking.
All right, Darren,
I'm going to the house and take a look.
I'm going to put you full screen real quick. You guys should be able to make Darren go full screen on your end. Here.
There's lots of stuff in the house. Come on this way. It's full of stuff. Now, this isn't the scary part, but I'm going to show you the rest of the house anyway.
Oh, Darren, while you're in the garage, are you still there? Hey, Darren, Denim, can you guys hear me? You got to go back. Go back and show them. There's tons of alcohol inside the garage. You got to show them my favorite shelf. You got to show them what I found in the midst of all the alcohol, and I didn't move this. All I did is turn the label.
Pick your poison. And if it's a really bad day, you can have this one. This here is brake fluid. It'll do the job.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was hilarious. Anyway,
but, who knows? Maybe that's how the person, how this house became a probate deal. He might have drank from the wrong bottle. I don't know.
Who knows? So you guys are seeing as he's walking.
But every room is like this.
Somebody else walked in and they couldn't handle this type of a problem. They couldn't see past this. So they're like, oh my gosh, they've never dealt with anything like this. They put $20,000 down
here
and walked away.
The mattress is well used. And the bathroom, which is really dirty, is also carpeted. You know, none of the air in here is really breathable, and none of the surfaces do you want to touch. Right. But we're in the house anyway because it's got good bones.
Okay, Darren, I'm going to answer some questions here. People are saying, what does probate mean? This means that this house, Darren, hold on one second.
Okay.
Hold on one second. There's a couple questions. People say, hey, what is probate? What does that mean?
Well, that's a good question, but it's really something that you should learn in a class or something like that. But really what it is when the owners of the house die, the house has got to go through a process. before it can be sold and the money can be distributed to the heirs of the people who own the house. That process is called probate.
Okay. So as he's going through the house, let's pause here for a minute, Darren. Let's continue some of the conversation here. We'll continue to walk through the house in just a minute, but let me pull this back up. I'm going to pull my I'm going to pull the gallery view back up so you guys can see this. Denham, do me a favor, Denham. Continue to walk around the house just as I'm talking for a moment. Just show them more of the house as I'm having a conversation with them. But look, guys, as you walk through, this right here, this was enough to scare somebody away. Now, let me ask you, would you be willing to put $20,000 on the line and then walk away from it simply because the house was full of junk? I want you to look beyond the junk. I want you to put yourself into the mind of an investor like we do and look at this and say, after this is junked out, do you see anything horrific, or do you just see a dirty house? Like, once all this stuff is gone, now all you're going to see is dirty floors. You're going to see dirty walls. You're going to see some aged fixtures, but nothing. Like, I don't see holes in the wall. I don't see mold. I don't see, anything of signs of damage. I just see that, like you guys are putting in the comment, you're saying it's just dirty. It's just dirty. So look at this. Hey. Because somebody was fearful, they walked away from $20,000. No damage. I mean, there was a roof leak on this house, but that's already been repaired.
Actually, we have the roofer coming over next week, so it's not repaired yet.
Oh, okay, got it.
There's 3 roof leaks.
Okay, Darren, so let's talk some numbers, Darren and Joanna, while I've got you there. Because you guys, Joanna picked up the phone and she called and she says, hey, I've got a great deal. It looks like a great deal. And I'm like, well, let's determine what makes it a great deal and what doesn't, okay? And the after repair value, you always start with the end in mind. What is the approximate after repair value, the resale value of this house once it's fixed up?
It's not even approximated. It's appraised at $300,000.
So it's appraised at $300,000 right now.
Okay. Yep. Well, now, not right now. That is after it's fixed up.
Right. Right now was appraised at $208,000.
Yeah, not in the as-is condition, but the appraisal once it's fixed up is going to be about $300,000. Okay, now let's talk about this. As you guys continue to look around the house, we've got to talk. Look, it was on the market for $250,000, and then somebody put it in escrow for $210,000, and that buyer walked away. And now the heirs, those that are going to inherit the money, they're like, hey, look, we don't want to deal with this. The heirs, those that are going to get paid on this house, they've already come in, taken anything that they want, and now have left this to be somebody else's problem. As an investor, we get paid to solve problems. Okay, so let's talk about this. It was in escrow for $210,000. They walked away, and pretty much we asked the question, well, what's the least amount they'll take? And what was the purchase price on this house?
$170,000.
So it went down from $250,000 originally to $210,000, and then ultimately we purchased it for $170,000. Now, just because you buy a house for $170,000 that's worth $300,000, guys, this is not HGTV. This doesn't mean that there's $130,000 of net profit there. I want to ask, because you guys have seen around the house now, you guys that are watching online, you've seen around the house. I want you to put into the chat, how much do you think it's going to take to fix this up? Okay, because we're going to talk about, and I skipped over the funding. Let me go. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But what do you think? This is a 1,500 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. What would you estimate it's going to cost to fix up?
Kendall, they may change their estimate once they see the master bedroom and bathroom.
Why don't we go show them that?
All right. I mean, this is really the reason why we have a mask on.
Yeah.
As we're walking, guys, I'm seeing numbers come in from 35,000, 50,000, 55,000, 35, 35. No idea. Thank you. I appreciate the honesty. 40,000, 60,000, 50,000, 80,000, 40,000. That is disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah. Show them over this area.
I am glad you are there and not me right now.
Here. It, again, this place is pretty disgusting. And it's really no fault of anybody's. It's just what happened.
It just is what it is.
Yep.
So, Darren, here's the questions. As people are guessing, we've got to determine what amount of work is going to be done. Because when we walk through this house, yes, we see that it's a dirty house. But we don't get freaked out by the dirt. We look past it and we're like, okay, it needs paint. It needs flooring. It needs some drywall repair in areas that are damaged. It's going to need countertops, new fixtures, landscaping. If we were looking at the broad scope, that's about all this house really needs, isn't it?
It's true. It's true. I mean, that's the broad scope. There'll be a little bit of electrical work. We'll put in some, and then we got, what do you call it? Light fixtures and plumbing fixtures and appliances and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I have got things coming in, bid estimates all over, Darren. I've got people saying that it's going to be $30,000 just in dumpster fees. I've got $80,000, $40 to $50. Depends on what you do. Yeah, it does depend on what you do, and let's address that. How do you determine how much work is going to be done in this house? What is the determining factor there?
It has nothing to do with this house. It has everything to do with the houses that have sold around this house. So what is it that is going to make this house worth $300,000 like the other houses that have sold for $300,000?
Yep. And that's really the only thing you take into consideration is what are the other houses looking like?
Yeah.
Okay? Somebody says you wouldn't have to remove the carpets. Yeah, of course we do. All flooring. Yeah. All flooring. In fact, go show the flooring in the kitchen, Darren, and talk a little bit about what you're going to do there. As they're walking, guys, we're going to talk next about financing. I sort of got out of order a little bit here. We're talking first about, okay, this is how we found it. Now we've talked about what we're going to do to fix it up. But everything you see there is gone. In fact, we're even contemplating that wall right next to Darren. We're contemplating getting rid of that as well and opening it up.
Now, other people haven't done that, but why would we do that? And if you follow me here, this area, this kitchen area, it's too big to just be a hallway, but too small to actually put a table in. And so it's kind of wasted space in here. And so we're contemplating right now, I've got a contractor putting together a bid, but I'm contemplating just removing this wall and then opening this whole area up so that people can, and then putting in, Joanna had a great idea, come over here, putting in an island right here with an overhang that you can put some bar stools against. It would make it a little more modern, a little less Santa Fe, a little less Southwest, and have a lot more space.
Okay, so we're literally looking at. So Darren, let's let the cat out of the bag, because this house was built in the mid 90s, 1995, 1996. It's
1994.
90 what?
94.
94. Okay, excuse me, 94. So literally, this is just a cosmetic fixer. There's not a whole lot that needs to be done here. What are we looking at for actual repair costs on this house?
Really, it's not as much as you might think. We're looking at $40,000. And that doesn't mean that I go buy the materials and do it myself.
Okay, so $40,000 hiring your contractors. So with acquisition and rehab, you are into it $210,000. Now, is that all of the costs that are associated with this house? No, let's talk about funding. Because how is this deal going to be paid for? It's $170,000 purchase price. How are you funding this acquisition?
So this is the fun part. This is where being part of this community really makes why this deal is so sweet. When I had Darren analyze and he says, yeah, Joanna, put the offer in. I said, okay, what do we put in terms? He says, just put 7-day inspection and 14-day close. I'm like, 14-day close? Oh my gosh, my heart just jumped out of my chest. And he says, no problem, we'll get it done. I'm like, okay. So we're actually using a hard money lender for, we got 80% to the loan to value of the purchase price. And we're using Darren's father, who's just itching to invest again because he's got 50 grand sitting. So, and then I'm supplying all the, for all the rehab. So that's where the funds are coming. And it's working. It's happening. We're closing Monday.
We're closing Monday, right? So between the hard money costs and the private money costs, what are we looking at as the cost of funds on this deal?
Well, between all of the money costs and let's say closing costs and all of that stuff that doesn't go into repairs, it goes into actually getting the house purchased and sold and all of that. It's about 25 grand.
So about 25,000. So all in, you are looking at an ARV of 300K. You are all in at 235. This includes purchase. It includes repairs. It includes financing costs, carrying costs, holding costs, etc. I mean, none of this is absolute yet. Stay with us for the next few weeks, and we'll show you the absolutes. You guys will see a massive transformation on this home. But let me tell you what I know about Darren Davis. Let me come off of here for a second.
Can I throw in something really quick?
Yeah.
Normally, Darren's experience is that the house is purchased, fixed, and sold within 3 to 4 months. We even calculated 6 months holding the house because of the situation right now. But guess what? I already have buyers looking at the house.
Right. Right. Isn't that amazing? So look, these costs that we're looking at here, none of these are solid. And this is what I was going to say about Darren. Darren, I call him jokingly, I call him the prophet. He has done hundreds of deals, and he's so quick at analyzing them that it's a system. It's a system of knowing, hey, look, put everything into the spreadsheet. Here's what I'm looking to make on profit. Boom. This is what I'm going to make. Okay. And so you are looking at a $65,000 net profit if it sells at 300. Well,
yeah.
What if it might not? Higher? What if it sells higher?
Would that be awesome?
Well, okay, but what if it sells lower? Look at this, guys. Is there enough time here enough room? What if there's a 10% market correction? If market drops 10%, are you covered?
Yep.
Yes. You're covered on being able to do a flip without having to go in and look at a secondary strategy of holding on to it as a rental property. So we've talked about 4 things today. We've talked about how do we find the property? How do we fund it? How do we fix it up? And how do we flip it? Now, we've done hundreds and hundreds of these houses. Darren, how much of your own money do you have in this deal?
0.
How much do you typically put into this deal?
Just experience. Just experience. That's what we are happy to have Darren on a team.
Yeah.
To work with somebody who's done over 200 flips like this, it's just, the fear is gone. There's not even, not even a puff of smoke from it.
I want to address some of the things that create fear because there's a lot of questions coming up in the chat. And I understand, like so many times it's like, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's causing some people, it could cause them fear and angst. Hey, Darren, there's a question that says, has the termite already been done on this? How much fear does a termite inspection give you?
None.
None.
No, none at all. Because there was a house that we spent $4,000 on the termite. This is not that kind of house. This house, if it costs more than $300, I'll be surprised. The reason why I say that is because the house was built in 1994, and the back patio is not a big issue. I've already looked at.
Even if, let's say, they had to tent the house, does that scare you?
Nope.
It's $2,500, and then you got a clean termite. Guys, sometimes we put these obstacles in our way that aren't even obstacles. And we got to go back to the very first thing we talked about. The reason people don't invest is fear. And through knowledge, through experience, that's what we overcome. So, Joanna, Darren, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for showing us the house today. We're gonna. Anything else you guys want to add to the property before we wrap this up?
Just stay tuned for updates.
This is going to be an amazing transformation. I mean, this is one we are going to document so well. It's one that's made for TV. Honestly, this is a made for TV house. The experience is going to be amazing. Darren, there's some questions coming in. Could we?
I want to just add. We followed the process and system from one of our instructors called Deal of the Decade. And seriously, this is a deal of the decade.
And it's interesting because the deal of the decade, we talk about the deal of the decade comes along once a week.
Right.
Yeah. When you're prepared, when you're making, and it's so funny because people are like, oh, you guys got so lucky. You got so lucky on this deal.
No, we've done a lot of legwork to get to this point, but it was all worth it. It was all worth it.
The legwork is in building relationships.
Right.
Relationship capital is what's one of the things that you're going to leverage. Ladies and gentlemen, now as we're in this pandemic, as there's going to be continued further disruption, I'm going to encourage you that now is the time to get educated. Now is the time to learn how to do this business. Darren, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to ask you to do a favor. Some folks are wanting to see the exterior in the back. Will you go out and have denim? Let's go look at that. As I'm talking, let's go out and look at the exterior. You guys can see the exterior as we're finishing up. But, we invite you here today because we're investors. We are affiliated with a company. We teach real estate investing. We don't just teach real estate investing. We create real estate investors. And we wanted to show you proof of concept. It's very easy to get onto a webinar and say, oh, yeah, we do this. But no, we want to show you this is actually what we do. It all comes down to you answering the questions. Can you do it? Is it worth it? Absolutely. If you do the work. Now, there's no guarantee of that. I can't make a guarantee for what you're going to do. I don't know you. Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to put on the masks and walk into a house that is full of filth with a stench that is unbelievable? The first time I visited this house was on Wednesday, and it had already been open to the elements and airing out for like 4 days. This is a stinky house. But somebody typed earlier in the chat, yeah, this smells like money. So as we're looking here, I'm going to go ahead and when Denim is pointing around, this is the patio cover. As far as things termite, hey, Denim, point the camera up a little bit. Let's look at that patio cover there. This is the only concern with termites. And maybe some of the rafters in the garage. But even the rafters, they're all up underneath sheetrock. So we're going to poke around. We've got teams. We've got contractors. The gazebo over there, the hot tub, that all gets thrown out. It's just a function of knowing what you're looking at, learning how to do it, overcoming that fear, and then answering, can you do it? Is it worth it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is yes, 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 if you do the work. But that's the rub sometimes. Work is a 4-letter word, and many of you don't want to do the work. Many of you want to sit back and just have it come to you. If that's the case, this is not the business for you. This requires that you get out there, do the work, put in the effort. But if you do, the results are amazing. Okay? So I invite you to come join us. We're going to be having a conversation. Christine's going to do me a favor. She's going to put in the chat the follow-up conversation. We are going to be meeting. We're going to be meeting on Wednesday night. Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Pacific time, we're going to be meeting and we're going to show you the rest of the story. We're going to talk about what is this system you're talking about? How did you learn from a paint pump mechanic to come in and do this? How does Joanna, who is a full-time school teacher, how did she make the time? How did she develop the systems to find a property like this? Those are the questions that you should be asking. Everything else is just everything else. It's just a problem with a solution. There's a contractor who can fix it, right? This whole thing could be rebuilt if needed. Every other question, the questions we should be asking is, how do I get into this game? Can I do it? Is it worth it? How would my life change if I went out and duplicated a result like this? How would my life be different if I was able to go out and generate a $65,000 profit? What if you only got half of that? How would your life be if you were to generate a $30,000 profit? That's what we're inviting you to investigate. Ladies and gentlemen, there is going to be a disruption. There has been a disruption. People are going to make money. My question to you is, are you going to sit? Are you going to sit on the sidelines and watch us do it? Or are you going to join it and do it with us? I invite you to come out, join us on Wednesday night. You see the Zoom link there on in the chat. You see the Zoom link. You see the code. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations for being here this morning. I hope it's been well worth your time. I look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday night. Darren, anything? Joanna, anything else? Anything else? Any closing words?
Just check it out. The education. Check it out. I know I had questions from other people too. Well, I would like to meet the people. I would like to actually be in person. I'm like, I said, I hope soon.
Yeah.
I hope soon. Right now, we're trying to follow the guidelines and everything. So, but it is fun. It's really a wonderful community of investors. We would never take this on if it wasn't for that.
Joanna, I want to ask you a question on that, Joanna. Sorry to cut you off, Darren.
That's okay.
Joanna,
yes.
Had you had to go through this? Had you had to go through this completely on your own?
No, from the beginning. From the beginning, we had the support of the community. Seriously, a phone call away, a text away, and we had Darren or you or Kim or somebody on the phone, helping us, understanding the process or whatever it is, or doing the analysis for us, just to making sure that we didn't make any mistakes. And again, the fear is like not existent because of the support and being able to work with the community.
Now, there's always risk in investing, right? But when you're taking a calculated risk, that's what helps the fear to go down. Darren, I'm going to give you one last shot, man. What do you have for us, bud?
I'm just going to say that, come on Wednesday night, you're going to hear the processes that we actually used, where we found them, where we got on the path in order to become real estate investors. And so that's going to be your chance to get a little more of what's behind the curtain, if you will. And then keep on, talk to the people that invited you onto this webinar, onto this Zoom call, and make sure you don't miss the next one, because there's going to be huge changes coming in the future for this property.
And I think that's a great point, Darren. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how you got here today. There's over 75 of us on this call today. I don't know where y'all came from. I'm glad you're here. Congratulations for being here. But look, the ball is back in your court. You've got to follow up. Follow up with the person who invited you here. Make sure that they get you registered, because you've got to be registered to join us on Wednesday night. You've got to be registered to join us on Wednesday night. Get back with the person who invited you down here. Let them know where you stand. Is this something you see that you believe you can do? If it is, let's go and move forward. Let's take the next step. If you're not sure, take the next step anyway. Come and learn. You've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Darren and Joanna, thank you so much for being with me today. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Guys, go out there and create a great weekend, and go out there and create success. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Kick your shoes off, kick them off. Get you some of this slow down fast. I'll take you up.